Welcome back to another North Carolina Tar Heels football recruiting podcast here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. And if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, that is called Tar Heel Illustrated. You can also find this on our Facebook page, which is Tar Heel Illustrated. And of course, a lot of people catch our stuff on Twitter. If you're not following us, make sure you do. That's at Heel Illustrated. No S in the middle, just at Heel Illustrated. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, and joining me is our director of football recruiting, Miss Deana King. We promised you June would be action-packed on the football recruiting landscape, and it most definitely has been and will continue to be so, because today, Cruz Law, a three-star linebacker, 6'2", 215 pounds from Christ Presbyterian Academy in Nashville, Tennessee, has pledged his commitment to play for Mack Brown, Tommy Thigpen, and the Tar Heels. He is the 16th member of Carolina's class of 2024 to pop for the Tar Heels. We'll get into some more details about him, and also his brother is part of this podcast as well. But Deana, what are your thoughts about Cruz Law popping for the Heels?
Well, he has been a target for Coach Thigpen and the staff for a while now. I know I've did several articles on him. He's been in Chapel Hill several times, and the most recent was this past weekend for his official visit. He's a Nashville kid, of course. Vanderbilt was a very strong candidate for him as well, but Carolina sealed the deal on the official visit. It's nothing but fact. Coach Thigpen was basically him and Cruz was together about the whole weekend, just about.
Following him around.
Yeah, and you can tell coaches want a kid when they spend that much time, and so everything. He talked about the culture and everything, and I think it's a good fit for UNC and with Cruz Law.
A little bit more information on Cruz Law. He chose the Tar Heels, as you noted, over Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was a very strong player here, in part because he's from Nashville, in part because there's a lot of opportunity. And a lot of people think Vanderbilt might be in position to make some considerable improvement there in the SEC. Also, his brother was a catcher for the Commodores. We'll get into that in just a moment. Other schools that offered Cruz Law: Southern Cal, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Ole Miss, Stanford, Purdue, Mississippi State, Louisville's on that list, Duke, Wake Forest, West Virginia. A lot of solid Power 5 offers. So Carolina was able to get a kid who had plenty of really, really good options. He's the number 19 player nationally in his position, number 14 in Tennessee. And I'll tell you, he's a 5.7 rating. So for the people who really, really, really focus hard on rankings, he's not too terribly far from being what would be considered a low 4-star. So this is a kid that was sought after, and the staff did a really good job bringing him in, explaining to him what his role would be, and selling him on the whole package that is North Carolina.
When I spoke to him, he talked about, I asked what Carolina liked about him, and he just said he was vicious, and you gotta be vicious when you play linebacker. And I've not heard that term used a lot, when kids kind of describe themselves. So he's being honest. He likes to hit people, and Carolina definitely needs someone to hit big hitters, if you see the highlight video when Carolina plays, they sure do show a lot of those big time hits that they had in their past. You can't forget some of those that some vicious ones. So I think he really fell in love with the school, everything about it, and it fits him academically and athletically.
I'll tell you what, I heard a word used a lot this spring, actually by Mack Brown a couple times, and several times by Gene Chizik, and that's the word violence. They started using the word violent to describe certain players because of what they were looking for. Among the things that the defense has lacked, and I think that too much communicate, too much reliance on communication, maybe too overly schemed. Those kinds of things are all part of it, but they haven't been violent enough. And that has been a point of emphasis this entire offseason. They hit more in the spring. They're going to hit more in early August when fall camp opens. I think when you start now piecing together this class of 24, Deana, and you look at some of the guys on the defensive side of the ball, they're looking for kids that are simply more violent, vicious. You use the word vicious because they described them as vicious. They want kids that are vicious, that wrap up. They need a lower missed tackle percentage, but also the kinds of guys that when they pop you, they just don't bring you to the earth. They pop you. There's a wear and tear factor there. That is part of one of several changes on defense that was openly articulated in the spring. And I think when you look at a guy like Cruz Law, they're now recruiting that. They don't want to have to change that when a kid gets to Chapel Hill. They want those dudes to roll on in, ready to rip someone's head off.
Yeah, and I think he looks. I mean, you look at him, and he looks like a perfect size for a inside linebacker.
Yeah, there's a little. I know I'm guilty of it sometimes too, and I don't like when people compare. And sometimes they do cookie cutter comparisons. But I love the way that Cole Holcomb could run guys down, but also Cole was really good at meeting a blocker, shedding the blocker, and making a tackle and stuff between the tackles. When you look at Cruz Law, who's well ahead of where Cole was at this stage, he looks like he's got a lot of that in him. And of course, Cole's making a crap load of cash in the NFL now.
Yeah, and talking to you earlier, I think also a similar kid is Caleb Lavallee. They're
Yeah.
built very similar, and they just look like tough linebackers. And to bring some toughness, that's another part. Bring back the toughness to Carolina football. You want to see guys that want to hit and want to make contact and want to have big hits and stuff and make that defense where it used to be. Max had some really awesome defenses back in the late 90s when they were in the top 5 of the country. They were defensively led on both of those squads. So
I have never met a catcher in baseball who wasn't tough. They call it the tools of ignorance because you have to just go in there and suck it up because you get nailed a lot. And Cruz's brother, Cade Law, was a catcher this past year at Vanderbilt. He redshirted, hit the portal in April. He was a high school quarterback, decided that he wanted to play football instead. So he entered the portal as a football player. And he also committed to North Carolina Monday as a walk-on quarterback. But let's remember, in high school, he was pretty good. He had an offer from Old Dominion. I'm checking to see what else was there. Haven't uncovered as much as I want to by the time we record this, but he's someone that's going to come in and will at least give that room another body. Who knows whatever happens there. There are so many crazy stories about quarterbacks that come from the side door and back door that becomes something. You never know. He could end up being someone that never takes a snap. He could end up being someone that matters in a year from now. But I do think it's interesting that they took him and that they're giving this kid an opportunity to play the sport in which he was solid at and pretty good at in high school. But also Mac loves those dudes that play other sports. And a kid that spends a year in the Vanderbilt baseball program, which is one of the top programs in America, and decides, you know what, my love for football, my passion for football is too great. I'm going to go somewhere and play football. I would think that the vigor he attacks things with when he gets to Chapel Hill makes this a pretty good day for Carolina and the Law family. They get a big-time prospect in Cruz, and they get someone that you never know. At least he's there. Maybe this helped facilitate Cruz ending up in Chapel Hill as well.
Well, with him playing baseball and being a catcher, and he's an athlete. So, if it doesn't work out, maybe at Q, who knows? Who knows where this kid could end up? He could be another linebacker. He could possibly play like his brother or be a receiver. When you define athlete, you mentioned it before. Mac loves versatile kids, and it's somebody that wants to be at Chapel Hill. So they're they're paying. The Law family is going to be paying for Cade to be going to Chapel Hill. So kid wants to be there. So he'll be a hard worker, and he will he will be an asset for the Tar Heels somewhere in the program.
Yeah. Cruz Law, 6'2", 250 pounds, a 3-star linebacker from Nashville, Tennessee, chose the Tar Heels over a healthy list of solid other Power 5 programs. He's the 16th member of Carolina's class of 2024. Deana, they're going to get more this month, so everybody should stay with us because Deana, myself, Brandon P., who's been doing a great job filling in, we will have everything for you. And also, we got an interesting daily drop coming up here that Deana and I are putting together about Carolina's recruiting footprint. You're not going to want to miss that, folks. And just remember, for $8.33 a month, you can be a Tar Heel insider too. Just head on over to TarHeelIllustrated.com, sign up, and you have access to everything that we do. And so much of this is on the boards long before we ever put them on a podcast. And most stuff, quite frankly, doesn't even end up on a podcast. You've got to be a premium member to get all that stuff and become a UNC expert as well. She's Deana. I'm AJ. Thanks for stopping by.